We go.
Hello and welcome to the Blue Doom post match. It finished Fulham nil, Everton nil down in London, and it stayed down here. Les Roberts with you for probably about as long as this game is worth talking about. To be honest with you, Les, I'd like to start with, and a lot of people are telling me this on Twitter right now, is that there's still plenty of positives to take from that, and I would be inclined to agree, but none of them would include in the manner of going forward. I think defensively we were very good, and even when that was said, there's a lot of fans arguing with me there, saying that we were lucky not to concede because look at how many shots they had. Mitrovic being the case in point, who had 10 shots in the game, and it's very very rare you see 10 shots had by one player in a game. That certainly doesn't contain the words Manchester City or any of the other sort of so-called top six clubs. But that's what happens anyway. And I think to sort of talk about this from sort of start to finish, I think the first half, the reason why it stayed 0-0 and the reason why we kept a clean sheet was the goalkeeper that we had, because I thought Jordan Pickford was absolutely brilliant tonight. Made some really crucial saves. The first one from Mitrovic, I think the first one that started it all off for them having so many attempts on goal was when Mitrovic spins in round about the 6 yard box and rips one on the half volley, and the instinctive sort of palm away from Pickford's one of the best saves I've seen this season. And people might well mock that if whoever's listening to this thinking, no, that's not really a good save. It was right at him. It wasn't right at him. It was going over his left hand shoulder. If you look at it, and he pushes both of his hands up in the air, gets his fingers on it, and it just goes over the bar. And the one just after that, where he tips it onto the crossbar as well. It'd be hard pushed to say that he wasn't Everton's man of the match tonight. I thought with Jordan Pickford, and I think Everton by and large struggled to get a whole grip of the game. It was largely Fulham. He had a lot of possession in the match, and yeah, I mean, but it's hard to be disappointed not losing away from home the way Everton have been away from home for such a long, long time, isn't it?
Yeah, that's. I mean, that's the first game, home game Fulham have had this season that they've not scored in. So that's a plus point. The fact that Mitrovic had 10 shots, I think that is sort of testimony to the defense and the goalkeeper that he didn't score, because the fella scored 9 goals in 11 games. So the defense and the goalkeeper have done exactly what they needed to do there, and they kept them out. You can't take that away from a good performance, because they were always going to attack us. I said in the week that we didn't really have much to worry about against Fulham, and what I meant by that was they've been good at home and they've got some good results, and they are seventh for a reason. But I don't think there was as much to worry about as we thought, and I don't know, it was a well earned draw, and it was a hard fought draw, and the second half was dreadful. We did absolutely nothing in the second half, but I thought that first half we had the better chances possibly. Calvert-Lewin should have buried that chance he got, or even if he'd have just missed it, Anthony Gordon probably would have slotted it. But it's one of them, isn't it? It got away from us. But I think to take the game in its entirety, I think to keep Fulham out at home, no one's done that all season. And we've said all season, really, Crystal Palace aside, the problem's been in the final third. It's been defensively and in midfield, we've been all right. That final third has been the issue, and it was again today. But yeah, you can't be unhappy at a draw away at the team who are currently seventh. I don't care if it's Fulham or who it is. The seventh in the league for a reason, like I said, and we got a hard fought 0-0 draw there. The defense has done the job. The goalkeeper's done his job. I thought Mikalenko was man of the match today. Thought he was absolutely superb defensively again. So yeah, just no real complaints for me. It's disappointing that we didn't do more in the second half to try and take the game to them more, or go for the win. But it happens, doesn't it? We didn't take our chances in the first half, and that was probably where the game escaped us, really.
Well, that's right, and I think as well, you look at it's been a long time of context for us as Everton fans, really, hasn't it? For so long now, when you consider the way in which we've seen out seasons, we nearly got relegated at the end of the last one. The one before that, Ancelotti. I mean, it is hard to sort of contemplate everything that we'd expect going away to Fulham in the chasm of, which has basically been a really difficult, what would you say, 3 years since we had, ironically, the manager we faced tonight. The way in which the club has been run, the way in which the players we've signed and whatnot, it's been a roller coaster of emotion, hasn't it, when it comes to stuff like that? So to go to Fulham this season, given how well they've played, even though they're a promoted side, to take a point from them when they've looked really, really good every time I've seen them so far this season, it looks like Silva's finally delivering on the promise that he had when he came to us in many ways. They were a tough side. I mean, I tell you what, they passed the ball really well. They get it round across the pitch as quickly as they possibly can as well. They cause troubles without being just a one-off machine, because that's the first thing I think any team that look at them when they're about to play them would think is they're a one-man band with Mitrovic up front and not much else. I think that'd be really harsh to say. You look at Willian as well. I mean, he hasn't played many games, but he was really, really good.
He surprised me tonight.
He's 35 years old now as well, you know.
I know. I thought he was a well-spent force, but I thought tonight he was really good.
And he's still quick, Les.
He is. Yeah, he causes no other problems tonight. So him and Mitrovic were the sort of main men for them tonight, I think. But yeah, they did look good all over the pitch, really, didn't they? And I suppose, I guess that's what we expected. We expected to be on the back foot, I think, and to try and get them on the counter-attack. But yeah, I was surprised with how good Willian was. And in Mitrovic, like you said, they've got a really good focal point there. He can do, again, I said this in the week on the weekly, he's found his feet in the Premier League now.
Yeah.
So his thing was always too good for the champ, not good enough for the Prem. But he's hit the ground running this season, and he looks like a complete striker now. So, you know, they've got that really good focal point. They've got decent players around. I mean, they do look a good side. That's why, as I say, you can't be disappointed with a point. Disappointed maybe in the way we got it, because we didn't do anything second half. But
no, I think that's spot on. I mean, it was a fair result in probably the most traditional of ways. When you say, you know, it was a fair result to be a draw in a match in the Premier League. I mean, I'm just looking at the table now. We have moved up a position up to 12th above West Ham. What we played? We played 13 games. Leeds is currently playing Liverpool now. We might as well give the score, because Leeds went 1-0 up, and I was really excited about that, but Liverpool have just levelled at 1-1.
I was really feeling this one.
Yes,
of course
absolutely kiss of death. Liverpool will go 1-1 and 5-6-1, whatever it is. But anyway, you know, ironically, much the same way as when they played against Forest as well, Liverpool have had a bit of a say in the teams in and around us in the last few weeks, and Forest beating them didn't really do us much of a favour, because they're only they've got a game in hand on us, and they're only 5 points behind us. Now, we are only in 12th, and the thing about it is as well, you know, it's that sort of crunch together, isn't it? That bottom half of the Premier League tape, well, all the way up to the top half, really, because you've got Brentford, who were 1 point ahead of us in 11th place, and you go down, they're on 15 points, and Leeds, who are playing right now, we're only 5 points behind them in 18th place. So, you know, that the season is just so unpredictable, really, when it comes down to those positions in and amongst us. The fact that we're in and amongst everything there, like smack in the middle of it, 12 with 14 points, I'm not too arsed about where we are positionally at the moment, because that can change within the space of, you know, look at the 2 wins that we had. We went into 18th place. The last 2 victories we had before we went to Fulham. Sorry, the 3 victories that we had in 6 games before we went to Fulham tonight has got us up to the mid-table area of the league, which I think many of us as fans want us to be this season, just as long as we aren't in and amongst the sides that are about to go down like we were last season. In reference, going back to the game though, yeah, I thought it was such a mixed bag of the way in which we seem to want to take these down, where we want to create the chances. And, you know, I thought, again, Anthony Gordon was another really iffy game for him. I felt that he struggled to get involved in it. Gray, I thought, was slightly better. But in all, I didn't think that both of them were really that good. Midfielder-wise as well, I thought Onana stuck out. Iwobi, again, was on the periphery for most of it too. It was just a really uncomfortable game to get comfortable with. I felt, Les, in terms of watching it. And it didn't get any better either because I mistakenly went on Twitter and said that we didn't hit a shot on target for the third and fourth game. But that's not actually true. They were just talking about the second half.
Yeah, the stat
But,
came about the second
but,
half.
but in and of itself, us not to have a shot on target in the second half is it's no reason to be all shouting up that, well, we did in the first half at least, because they're the money parts of matches in the Premier League, aren't they? And I felt like we were really blunt when it comes to that regard. And you've got Calvert-Lewin on the pitch, in which he lasted 90 for the first time, which obviously that's a bit of a bonus for him. Lampard again's got this strange issue with changes. I mean, given that it was a tight game in regards to being 0-0, for him not to wait until like 65 minutes before making a change is actually a reasonable excuse. I say an excuse not in traditional sense, but the reason why he took so long to put somebody on is to see how it developed, given how closely we're playing each other. Yeah. The other ones, he just seemed to willy-nilly put them on after 60-odd games. But when we put Garner on, and then when we put Maupay on, I wasn't too sure how this was going to work. With taking Gordon off as well, there wasn't really that balance there on either side. It looked to me, Les, as soon as we put Maupay on up there with Calvert-Lewin, or that was going to be the idea, was for him to be up there with Calvert-Lewin. That looked to me like why it just looks like we'd struggle really hard to play a general 4-4-2.
Yeah.
Go on.
No, I do think we need a bit of a plan B now, don't we?
Yeah, we absolutely do.
Because the way it wasn't working today, and it's far from the only game it's not happened in. If that formation doesn't work, if the two wingers aren't particularly working well, we have got the players there to change it to a sort of 4-4-2. Probably take the wingers out completely and play a sort of diamond in the middle with a number 10. Probably stick Iwobi at number 10, perhaps, put two players up front. There are options there to change it. Just don't know how comfortable Lampard is with that switching formation, or how comfortable the players would be. But I think it's something we definitely need to explore, just to try and switch things around. When, as you say, it's 60 minutes into the game, 65, 70 minutes, it's patently not working in the second half. Fulham have pretty much sussed us out. We can't make any chances at all. There's that breakdown just going forward again. You kind of think if we do change it, we could get something out the game. We could try something a little bit different. Always putting two strikers up as well always unsettles the back four a bit more, doesn't it? Gives the two centre halves something more to think about.
Yeah.
So I think that's something, sort of the next phase of things now. It's sort of, we kind of know how to grind out results because we've done that so far this season, and that can't really be overlooked. Sort of talking about the position we're in, because if we those games last season, we may not get those draws. And it's like, I know we went 6 games unbeaten, then we got like 4 draws or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's just grinding out those results. They all add up, those points. They all add up to sort of to push you up the table a little bit. Complement that with a couple of wins. And that's how you push yourself up the table. But I think now the next part of the evolution for this team is going to have to be to find a way to break down teams like this. Well, not break them down, because we weren't really in a position to do that, where it wasn't like we were throwing everything at them, we just couldn't get through, to actually just create chances. And give the defence a bit of a rest, because that was pretty backs to the wall second half. And thankfully we've got the players who can defend like that now. Defend with all the lives, and then you've got Pickford as well to sort of make the saves when he needs to. So I think that's what we need to do next. Sort of work out a different way to play when that plan A isn't working for us.
Yeah, and by that token as well, you've moved us beautifully on to the fact that Nathan Patterson's back. And he come on for Seamus probably at the time when he very much needed to come on for Seamus, and I'm not slating Seamus whatsoever. I think he's generally been fine in when he's had to step in and replace Patterson. Firstly, Patterson's got back a hell of a lot earlier than I thought he would. That injury that he got, I thought he might well be out at least until, probably the next time we'd see him in an Everton shirt would be after the World Cup. On Boxing Day would have been a nice Christmas present, wouldn't it? But no, he come back early, he come back in, and largely we ended up finishing that game with the back four that we want to see in Mykolenko, Tarkowski, Cody, and Patterson back in there. And then the other, just to refer to the subs a little bit more, Les, because I keep on expanding on this, and I do think it's an issue that Frank Lampard, it's a work in progress for him as a young manager that he has to learn, particularly and obviously in the Premier League. Now, Patterson comes on 64 for Seamus, then James Garner comes on for Idrissa Gueye like a minute later. Now, those like for like subs, I'm perfectly fine with them because I do think Idrissa wasn't much involved in the game. Again, he was somebody else who felt like he was on the periphery quite a lot. Didn't really involve. He doesn't. I don't think he does that a lot as a defensive midfielder player for us anyway. He's not somebody who you always want on the ball to pass it round. The lad next to him is the one you want to see do that with Onana, and get him forward a little bit more. So he decides to put James Garner on. I get that substitution because if you've got your midfield duo, James Garner and Onana, then I'm looking at that thinking, well, there's two lads you can build a foundation for in the midfield where you can attack, and they can be the base of the attack, trying to get the ball out to the wing and whatnot. And then what was the next one that come on? Dwight McNeil comes on for Demarai Gray on 76. Don't have a problem with it per se, but it probably needs to happen a little bit earlier. I thought probably McNeil a little bit unfortunate that he didn't get a start. And then what was it? He left Anthony Gordon on for 86 before he puts Mopai on for him. That's the one I'd probably have a bit more of an issue with. And I'd love to ask Frank Lampard what his feeling was behind doing this. Yes, okay, you're putting on our second striker, but I don't think you're necessarily putting him on as a traditional striker alongside Dominic Calvert-Lewin. When you put him on, if you saw that formation on a piece of paper in their actual positions, you wouldn't be putting Mopai next to Calvert-Lewin. I wouldn't have thought if you're Frank Lampard.
No, because you've got no winger then, have you?
Exactly. That's the thing. I thought he comes in with like an old school inverted winger, somebody who just drifts out to where Gordon was. And like, to be fair, I think taking Gordon off was the right decision to make, but I'm not sure he put the right player there for that very decision.
Yeah, it seemed to just go from a 4-2-3-1 to a 4-3-3, didn't it?
Yeah.
Which in actual fact, there's not that much between those formations, to be honest.
Well, you know, the funny thing that I found when he did that was that looks similar to what you'd want to see from Richarlison. Yeah. Somebody who can drift out and drive from the wing inwards, rather than Anthony Gordon, who can do a bit of both and go on the outside and whip a cross in. The other thing as well that was a little bit more critical from me was not really getting much of a cross into Calvert-Lewin, because the one time they did, he probably should have scored a goal as well.
Yeah, he should have buried that. That was it, wasn't it? We just didn't do enough in that final third again. Although I think we did have 4 attempts at goal, I think, in the first half.
Yeah, that's what I was being slated for, by the way.
Yeah, four on. We actually had 9 shots in the game, 4 on target. I think all of that was in the first half, or at least all the shots on target were. But yeah, you know, it's if we have got the wingers like Gray and Gordon, they've got to be getting crosses in. You know, and as we saw with that one Calvert-Lewin missed, if he hadn't touched it, probably would have gone through to Gordon to slot. Other way round, Gordon puts the cross in, Calvert-Lewin's there, Gray needs to be behind him. We need to be packing players into the box, and we're not really doing that. Not getting the ball into the box, whipping it in from out wide, which is, you know, it's the way we've got Calvert-Lewin playing, and that's where his sort of bread and butter is, that 6-yard box. That's what we should be doing while he's on the pitch. And we're not, because there is some sort of breakdown, and we just, I don't know, we look hesitant to try and beat the fullbacks and everything today. There was just a lot of turning back and passing the ball back in, which is dead frustrating when you've got wingers who can actually take fullbacks on, like Gray and Gordon, you know, because they can do that. They just didn't seem to want to. And I think that's the most frustrating thing for me about that today. One other frustrating thing, if I can just pick up on that, was the red card with Mitrovic. There was some
or the red card that wasn't.
There was some really. I mean, he should have been sent off for that, no doubt. VAR apparently looked at it, said no, and then that penalty for Fulham in the second half. How on earth did the VAR didn't give that?
The one from the cross.
The one where Willian got took out. He just got his foot stood on
Oh yes, that was late. That was later on in the first half. I thought we were lucky to get away with one as well, where I can't remember who it's against, but someone's trying to run in and just gets dragged down. But
Oh yeah, it was
it's seen
Tarkovsky,
as
I
a
think,
little
wasn't it?
bit
On
of
the corner, on the
50-50.
free kick or something, or corner.
Yeah, it's free kick or corner comes in.
Yeah, yeah,
And it looked like all for all the money in the world, it was such an easy pen to give away. You
yeah,
see them at 10 a penny every week, but for some reason, and to the referee's credit, it wasn't given. Even though, like, I think it was a bit of a 6-1, half a dozen of the other type of challenge that you'd see. Only because when they initially get sort of go down from who was it? Was it Cody or it was Tarkovsky? I think.
Tarkovsky.
Yeah, who pulls them down? That's the second thing that makes me think, yeah, pen's getting given here now. But if you look just before that, the referees actually used a bit of peace of mind and looked around and thought, before he started running off and Tarkovsky pulled him down, he did the exact same thing
Yeah,
before Tarkovsky did his. So, that's not going to happen if he gives a free kick to that. So I would like to think, Les, but it's not necessarily going to be true, that was actually a bit of common sense from refereeing and VAR, but I doubt that's going to be the case.
yeah. It was probably more luck than design, wasn't it? Really,
It was what?
probably more luck than design. That's the
Yeah,
one. Just sort
absolutely,
of
absolutely, yeah,
just didn't give it. But yeah, I think the foul on Garner. I mean, the referee's position for that, he's literally stood about 2 yards
yeah,
away from it. It's right in front of him. It's a
yeah,
horrible tackle. And I just don't get how he's not given the red card. And then it's gone to VAR and they've looked at it and been like, nah. It's this whole thing again, isn't it? The fact that Everton have gone the longest, like, in however many seasons, or whoever is in the Premier League now. Everton are the team that's gone longest without playing against 10 men. There's not been a
yeah,
red card against us for ages. And it's just, you look at things like that and you're like, why? You look at things like last season, Palace, that foul on Gordon. How was that not a red card? How are
yeah.
these things going like massively unpunished? I don't want to like go the conspiracy theory, but it's just dead weird and just a bit rubbish, really, because they're the sort of thing that turn the game, aren't they? And
Yeah.
Newcastle battered Fulham 4-1 a few weeks back, largely because they got a player sent off after 20 minutes. That happens there. Mitrovic goes off. That is a completely different game there. And he deserved to go off. And it's frustrating that, we didn't do ourselves any favours playing 11v11, but it really should have been 11v10. And those sort of things, when they're not going for it, it's dead frustrating.
Well, it's like what you said about these draws that we're getting. The points do add up, but so do the decisions that we're not getting as well.
Yeah.
When it gets to that point where you desperately need to go and get three points away from home, because even like that we spoke quite a lot about this. I think after the Palace game last week, that should be an absolute blueprint to the way we play at Goodison Park, particularly against the lesser sort of sides in inverted commas. Don't mean to disrespect Palace because they are a fine side. As the day proved, because they went and got 3 points against Southampton. But those are teams that you want to be getting 3 points. You need to be getting 3 points from at home to have a comfortable finish in the Premier League table, and also going away from home, mate. It's getting to the stage now, I think, when we go away from home, that it's huge that we don't lose games. It's really big, because it'll be against sides that we want to compete with. What, 9 times out of 10, for 3/4 of that league, we're going to be competing against those sides. I'm not saying we're going to be competing for European positions, but if you talk about like 7th downwards, Everton should be looking to try and get a result, like confident to go somewhere and get a point, at least a point. And I still don't look at us away from home anywhere near as confident as I do as we did against Crystal Palace last week, and that's still going to remain an issue for me. Now, it's going to be interesting now, isn't it? Because now we're getting to the stage where this is completely brand new for us to split the season up into two.
Yeah.
the World Cup, ridiculous, quite ridiculous World Cup. And I'm saying it's ridiculous for now, but we're probably doing all sorts of content on it when the World Cup comes up. But my personal opinion, I think it's an absolute disgrace that there's a World Cup starting in the middle of November and taking us all the way up to Boxing Day. Even though come Boxing Day, it'll be like a second Christmas Day for us, won't it? Because we're finally being able to get back. We've got Wolves at home, isn't it, when we come back?
Yeah, Wolves have got no trains on. So.
Well, oh yeah, of course. And then I got New Year's Eve City away. Yeah. That's not going to be a good end to the year.
Oh Christ, no.
But we do live in hope. But the last two we've got left though, Leicester at home next week, and then we go to a double header against Bournemouth, given the Carabao Cup that's down there. Yeah. Me and you were over and Aaron. Well, maybe in our faint hopes and dreams that we were going to go down to Bournemouth for a week, which is not going to happen. But
just like old times.
It's what?
Just like old times.
Just like old times, mate. Yeah, we love going down there, didn't we? But we never won a game.
Oh yeah, it was at once great and dead shit, wasn't it?
Yeah, because we went 2-0 up against 10 men.
2-2.
No, we had 10 men, didn't we?
Yeah.
We had 10 men, went 2-0 up and drew 2-2, and then the other one we got beat 3-1.
Yeah.
At the start.
That though, didn't we?
The what, sorry?
We went 1-0 up in that one, the 3-0, the 3-1.
Yeah, we did, yeah. And they were both roasting days, boss days as well, weren't they?
Lovely. Yeah.
Absolutely stunning day. And it is a gorgeous place down there, isn't it? You can never give that against Bournemouth as a place. But we digress a little bit. So anyway, Everton 0, Fulham 0, Everton 0. A point gained. I think that. Well, I think we both agree to say that, Les, wouldn't we? That we take a point away from Craven Cottage. They're a side that, and I think the commentary said it. I think Bill Leslie's commentating on it, and he said that this will probably live to be a good point to take away from Fulham because they've been a much better side. Certainly this season, certainly that we've seen for a long, long time. Yeah. That'll be a decent draw for us to take. I mean, even look at them across the road. They struggled to get a point down there, didn't they, at the start of the season?
Yeah.
And it's such a small, compact ground that I always think it just always seems like a struggle to keep the ball. See, because they will be on top of you, but also you've got the crowd. I know they've had some changes made to Craven Cottage, but it looks like all the fans are almost right on your toes all the way through the game. That is not a bad point to come away with that.
No, I mean, just talking about good aways, Fulham is up there with the best aways you can go.
Oh, yeah.
It's outstanding. But yeah, just looking at their results, so they drew with Liverpool first game of the season, but unlucky not to win that, to be honest. Then they beat Brentford 3-2 at home. Brighton, they beat them 2-1 at home. They got beat by Newcastle, but as I said, they went down to 10 men after about 20 minutes and that.
Hang on, no, mate. Look at Newcastle Newcastle today.
Yeah, they are doing well, but I don't think they get beat 4-1 if they don't go down to 10 men. And then they drew 2-2 with Bournemouth, which is a bit of an anomaly, and then beat Bill 3-0. So we can't really look at that as anything but a good point. I don't think, because they are very good at home. They've had some dodgy results away. Got beat 3-1 at West Ham. Probably predictable.
Well, I think as well, though, Les, those results that you're talking about, it shows you what such a difficult, unpredictable side that they can be.
Yeah.
The one of those teams where you're like, you know what, if you're putting him on your weekend coupon, best of luck doing that, because they could take any of the 3 results you can get from a game.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I don't, as I said before, and it was frustrating.
Yeah,
because we just didn't do enough in the second half, and
we didn't do ourselves a justice, especially compared to how we played against Palace last week.
Yeah, we didn't, but again, we need to sort of just temper our expectations. You know, it wasn't the second half display was pretty bad, but we put in a load of bad performances last season, probably worse than that, over 90 minutes. So you know, the team is gradually progressing, and you know, to get a 0-0 draw away at Fulham, who are on a good run, really good run at home, I don't think we can have any complaints with that. I'd hate to think people are pissed off with this result, thinking, oh, we did nothing in the second half, we could have done better. We didn't, but we got a point. You know, we get points away at teams like Fulham. We beat them at home. we'll be doing all right in the league. You know, they got away with one with Mitrovic not getting sent off. We got away with one with not getting the penalty given against us. It was a pretty fair result, and we just can't be too down on it. It's just steady progress. That's, you know, you can't be looking at Europe yet after the season we had last season. I know we've made good signings and we look a different proposition this season, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. We can't be expecting to go down there and beat them. There was no reason why we couldn't. We just didn't play well enough to, and that's going to happen. And it's another point on the board. It's an old cliche, yeah, but it is another point on the board, isn't it? And it just keeps us hanging around that mid-table. Just the important ones again now. The one against Leicester at home is really important. Because that's the team we should be beating at home. We need to win the home games like that, and then pick up points wherever we can on the road. So it would be nice to get 4 out the next 2, but maybe just go unbeaten until the World Cup. I reckon, no.
Yeah, I agree with you, Les. To sort of, as we look at wrapping the pod up, post match up, I think obviously it's no game to write home about in terms of chances, and it was a really good one for any neutral to watch. But yeah, I've it's often the way the way top clubs used to live on was take 4 points from 2, take 4 points from 2, take 4 points from 2. It's disappointing when the 1 point comes from home. But do it the way we have there, then you feel like quite content, really, don't you? You take 3 points at home, takes the pressure off you when you go away from home, so perhaps you play better and do get you 3 points again. But the fact that we took a draw, 4 points from 2 games, 2 clubs that were bang on competing against this season as well, in and around the mid-table. Fulham might well right now be open for even better than that, the way they've played so far this season. I think Palace will as well, to be fair to them. Their sides that I think are comfortably going to be in midfield. And do you know what? I'd stick my neck out as far as saying I think we're going to be quite comfortable this season. I don't think we'll be getting near where we were in the troubles of last year. I see it more as what I would have loved to have seen as Lampard's first season. And that is when he's come in, well, hopefully he wouldn't have come in the middle, but if he comes in at the start of a campaign, gets into like a relatively positive, progressive season that doesn't have Everton involved in any sort of trouble. That's what I conventionally want with a manager at Everton. There's just none of this drama that's all over the place with spending ridiculous amounts of money on generally shit players.
Yeah.
No, now I'd like to see a bit of calm, and he's starting, I think, slowly to install that. And you mentioned these last 2 ones before the World Cup. Like I say, it's concertina, doesn't it? The league table. You know, if you find yourself going and taking 6 points, I tell you what, you talk about a hard game. Is Fulham. Bournemouth away is a hard game now, because they've been brilliant since they got rid of Scott Parker. They've picked up some brilliant. They were really unlucky today. They went 2-0 up and got home against Spurs. Ended up losing it 3-2. They're a fun team to watch as well, Bournemouth, if you do sort of get a chance to look at them match of the day or whatever. That'll be a really interesting game to have down there. Very similar to Fulham in many ways. I think that sort of small stadium, which looks like you can barely move, and your players need to pass the ball really accurately, really quickly to get it out their feet. That looks like a similar place. And then Leicester as well. I don't know if you watched Leicester this morning, Les, against Man City. I wouldn't go as far as saying they were unlucky to get a point, because City did sort of, well, as you would expect, possession-wise, dominated the match. But Tielemans had this ridiculous shot, and I know he scored a whopper of a goal, didn't he, away at Wolves last week?
Yeah.
Yeah, the shot was very similar, that he just cracked off the top of the bar.
My dad told me about that from a corner, wasn't it? Fulham did today, didn't he? That was similar. And he
think back to that year that Paul Scholes scored that goal where he volleyed it against Villa, barring in. It was going to be the exact same with that, but Ederson ended up getting his tip of his finger to it and put it onto the bar. But yeah, they could have closed it a bit more. The goal, it
was held a free kick, one from De Bruyne. Yeah,
he's. It just feels inevitable that this happens once every game, or there's going to be a time where he does something like that. Because again, I think Leicester were really good in what they did in breaking them down and obviously sat really, really deep. City walking around with like 65% plus possession. You know what's going to happen, but you just need to live with it. Much
Yeah.
the same way as you've mentioned there, you know what's going to happen when we go to most away games. You're not going to have much of the ball or a lot of the ball. But when you do get it, do something with it that counts and just don't concede.
Yeah.
That seems to be the blueprint for us going forward as much as last week against Palace. That's how we should win games at Goodison Park. So we'll sort of leave everyone with that thought. But yeah, I mean, I think at this stage of the season, after what we've had 13 games now, what have we had? 3 wins.
Yeah, 3 wins. What is it?
4 draws, 3 defeats, is it?
3, 5, and 5.
3, 5, and 5.
Yeah, we're on 14 points. We're 4 points off 8th and 4 points off 18th.
That's the definition of mid-table.
That is banging mid-table. So yeah, so I mean, yeah, you can basically discount the top few clubs, can't you?
You take that back 7-8 months, mate. You'd absolutely bite someone's hand off. Firstly, that we were still in the division, but secondly that we aren't near the bottom of it. So we'll leave that way. Obviously there'll be loads of reaction. Probably not that much reaction as there usually is to our weekend game, given it was a 0-0 draw down at Craven Cottage. But there'll be bagfuls to come up, and we'll have some announcements to make as well as what we'll be doing across the World Cup. We'll be doing some World Cup coverage. We'll be getting loads of other different people involved and all the same group that we have as well. And if you are in and around the ground, we normally go and do, as you probably know by now, we go and do our post-match at the Denby Castle. We're looking to see as many of you, as you guys that listen to us as you possibly can, and there's probably a drink in it for you as well if you do come and join us. But we'll have all the information to that for the week to come. And yeah, up the toffees, and the blueroomefc.com is where you'll find everything you need to see and listen to. And we'll speak to you again throughout the week.